Subscribe to Storylab. Now, let's begin this one. The Wyoming wind cut across the empty runway as Benjamin Coffey stepped off the military transport, his boots meeting American soil for the first time in 8 months. At 42, he'd spent half his life in the Navy, the last decade with SEAL Team 6. His weathered face and gray-streaked dark hair told stories his classified record never could. He'd expected his wife Sarah and their 3 daughters, Emma, Sophie, and Grace, to be waiting. Instead, he found Captain Walter Sherman standing alone by a black SUV, his normally stoic face streaked with dried tears. Benjamin knew before Walter spoke. You don't survive 20 years in special operations without learning to read death in a man's eyes. Ben, we need to talk. Get in. Walter's voice cracked. The drive lasted 7 minutes. Benjamin would remember every second for the rest of his life. Walter explained it in pieces, his hands shaking on the wheel. A trafficking ring, coordinated kidnapping from their Virginia Beach home 4 days ago. His parents, visiting for the holidays, had been there too. The ring specialized in live torture streams on the dark web. Premium viewers, 10,000 paid subscribers watching in real time. 6 hours. That's how long they'd broadcast the torture. Sarah, Emma, who was 15, Sophie, 12, Grace, only 9. His mother and father. I watched the investigation file. Walter said, pulling into the Norfolk base. I shouldn't have, but I needed to know what we were dealing with. Ben, they didn't make it quick. Benjamin sat motionless, his mind fracturing and rebuilding itself in the same moment. He killed 147 men in combat, watched brothers die, held dying children in Fallujah and Kandahar. Nothing had prepared him for this. There's more, Walter continued. The FBI's involved, but this network spans 12 countries, 400 known operatives. The leadership is insulated, moving constantly. Albania, Morocco, Ukraine, Mexico. They've been operating for 8 years. Hundreds of victims. Who led the investigation? Benjamin's voice was eerily calm. Joint Task Force. FBI, Interpol. Agent Francine Ballard is the lead. She wants to brief you. Set it up. Benjamin paused. And Walter? Get me everything. Every file. Every scrap of intel. Use your contacts at NSA, CIA, wherever. I want names, locations, financial trails. Everything. Walter met his eyes. What are you thinking? I'm thinking I have 6 months of accumulated leave. And I'm thinking you still talk to Lonnie Callahan, Cody Hamilton, and Kurt Mullins from our old team. Understanding dawned on Walter's face. Ben, if you do what I think you're planning, they murdered my family and sold it as entertainment. The system will take years, if they catch them at all. I've spent 20 years learning to hunt men in the shadows. Now, I'm going hunting. Benjamin's voice was steel. You with me or not? Walter stared ahead for a long moment. Then, Lonnie's in Virginia. Left the teams last year but stays sharp. Cody's teaching at Fort Bragg. Kurt got out but works private security. I can make calls. Do it. Tell them it's not official, not sanctioned. Anyone who comes is choosing to step outside the law. But tell them what happened. Let them decide. The funeral came 3 days later. Closed caskets, all 5. Benjamin stood in his dress whites, receiving condolences from people whose words meant nothing. The FBI agent, Francine Ballard, approached afterward, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s with graying blonde hair. Commander Coffey, I can't imagine what you're going through. We're doing everything. How many have you caught? Benjamin interrupted. Ballard hesitated. We've arrested 12 low-level operators. But the leadership structure is sophisticated. Shell companies, encrypted communications, constantly moving. It takes time to build cases that will hold up in court. How much time? Realistically, years. These organizations have years. Benjamin nodded slowly. My daughters didn't have years. They had 6 hours of hell before they died. But you need years to build a case. Commander, I understand your frustration, but vigilante justice isn't. I'm not talking about vigilante justice, Agent Ballard. I'm talking about the fact that somewhere right now, they're grabbing someone else's family. While you're building cases that will hold up in court, they're live streaming torture for profit. He handed her a card with his number. When you have something useful, call me. Until then, I'll grieve my family. That night, In the empty house that still smelled like his daughter's shampoo and his wife's perfume, Benjamin sat at the kitchen table with a bottle of whiskey he didn't drink. On the table was a thick folder Walter had delivered. Inside were surveillance photos, financial records, intercepted communications, NSA signals intelligence. The trafficking ring called themselves the Hydra Network. Cut off one head, two more grow back. He studied the organizational chart. At the bottom, street-level kidnappers and handlers. Middle management in various countries. At the top, barely visible through the layers of insulation, were names. The Council of Six, intelligence analysts called them. Benjamin found 3 confirmed identities. Dmitry Volkov, operated from Albania. Hassan Karimi, based somewhere in Morocco. And the one who'd apparently ordered the stream of his family's murder, specifically a Mexican cartel leader named Fernando Hernandez, who diversified from drugs into human trafficking. The motivation was documented in an NSA intercept. Fernando had lost 3 shipments to SEAL Team 6 operations Benjamin had commanded in Central America. This was revenge. They'd researched him, found his family, and made them pay for his missions. Benjamin's phone buzzed. A text from Walter, all 4 confirmed. Meeting tomorrow 0800. The next morning, 5 men sat in Walter's basement. Benjamin knew them all. Lonnie Callahan, 6'4", built like a linebacker, master breacher. Cody Hamilton, communications and tech specialist, could hack anything. Kurt Mullins, sniper, held the team record with a 2,100-meter kill. And Walter himself, medic and tactical planner. I've briefed them on basics, Walter said. Your call on details. Benjamin distributed folders. The Hydra Network. 400 operatives, 12 countries, 8 years active. They kidnapped and murdered my family 4 days ago. Broadcast it for profit. He paused, his voice steady despite the rage beneath. I'm going to dismantle this network piece by piece. I'm going to make them afraid. And I'm going to kill every single person involved in what happened to Sarah, my daughters, and my parents. Lonnie spoke first. We're not official. No sanction, no backup, no rescue if things go bad. Correct. This is off-book, illegal. If caught, we're criminals. But we have advantages. We're trained for this. We're motivated. And we're willing to do what the system can't. Cody studied the organizational chart. 400 targets across 12 countries in 6 months? That's aggressive. We're not hitting everyone. We're hunting specific targets. The ones involved in my family's case. The leadership. The infrastructure. We make it collapse from the top down. Benjamin pulled out a map. We start in Albania. Dmitry Volkov runs operations in Eastern Europe. He coordinated my family's kidnapping, hired the team. Arranged transport. 6 of his people were directly involved. Kurt leaned forward. Intelligence? NSA has his compound location outside Tirana. He moves between 3 properties. I have his security details, schedules, everything. We hit him first. Extract information about the network's financial systems and communication protocols. Then we move through the chain. Rules of engagement? Walter asked quietly. No collateral damage. No innocence. But anyone actively involved in the network operators. Handlers, financiers, the ones who watch and pay for the streams their targets. We document everything. When this is done, the evidence goes to Ballard. Let her prosecute whoever's left. And if we don't survive this, Lonnie asked, then at least we burn it down trying. Benjamin met each man's eyes. I'm going whether you're with me or not. I've already lost everything that mattered. But I won't lie, I can't do this alone. I need my brothers. Cody nodded first. Then, Kurt. Lonnie stood and extended his hand. For Sarah, Emma, Sophie, and Grace. They shook on it, one by one. Over the next 2 weeks, they planned. Walter used his intelligence contacts to build a network of information sources. Cody established secure communications and created false digital trails. Kurt acquired weapons through black market contacts, untraceable, effective. Lonnie scouted routes and safe houses using his private security company as cover. Benjamin immersed himself in the details of his targets. He learned that Dmitry Volkov had started in human smuggling, transitioned to trafficking when the profit margins proved better. The man had 17 confirmed kills himself, tortured dozens. He operated with impunity because he paid off local police and had political connections. The NSA intercepts revealed something else. The Hydra network was planning something big, a special event, scheduled for 6 weeks out. Location: Mexico. The chatter suggested it involved 20 targets. Benjamin felt ice in his veins. 20 families like his. He called the team together early. Timeline just moved up. They're planning another mass event. We have 6 weeks to tear down enough of their network to stop it. That means we hit hard and fast. They flew commercial to Rome, then drove to Bari, where they caught a ferry to Durrës, Albania. 5 American tourists, unremarkable. Their weapons and gear came through different channels, courtesy of Cody's connections with an arms dealer named Mohammed Ewing, who operated out of Athens. Albania hit Benjamin like stepping into another world. Post-communist architecture mixed with new construction funded by organized crime. In a rented safe house outside Tirana, they conducted final surveillance on Dimitri's compound. 3 properties, like you said, Kurt reported, reviewing drone footage Cody had captured. Primary compound has 12 guards, rotation every 6 hours. 2 armored SUVs. He's there now, heat signature analysis confirms. Secondary routes? Benjamin asked. Walter pointed to the map. Mountain road here leads to an old bunker system from the Hoxha era. If he runs, that's where he'll go. It's his escape route. Then we make sure he can't reach it. Benjamin sketched the plan. Lonnie, you breach the main gate with Cody. Kurt, you're overwatch on the ridge. Walter and I take the bunker route. Cut off his escape. We go at 0300, minimal visibility, maximum confusion. Rules? Lonnie asked. Anyone armed is hostile. We need Dimitri alive for intel. Everyone else, Benjamin left it hanging. At 0245, they moved into position. The Albanian night was moonless, perfect for their work. Benjamin and Walter moved through the trees toward the bunker entrance, while Kurt settled into his sniper position 800 meters out. Through his earpiece, Benjamin heard Cody's whisper. Thermal shows 2 guards at main gate, 4 patrolling grounds, 6 inside main building. No change in pattern. At precisely 0300, Lonnie blew the gate. The explosion was shaped, directional enough to take out the reinforced steel, but contained enough not to wake the neighborhood. Benjamin heard the distinctive chatter of suppressed rifle fire as Lonnie and Cody engaged the exterior guards. Kurt's voice came calm and steady. 2 tangos moving to rear exit. Engaging. Targets down. Benjamin reached the bunker entrance. Ancient communist construction, rusted metal door. Walter planted a small charge, while Benjamin covered the approach. The door blew inward, and they descended into darkness, night vision, painting everything green. The bunker was a tunnel system leading 200 meters back toward the main compound. Halfway through, Benjamin heard running footsteps. 3 men appeared, one matching Dimitri's description. Benjamin raised his rifle. On the ground. Now. The guards went for their weapons. Benjamin's training took over 2 controlled shots, center mass. Both guards dropped. Dimitri froze, hands rising. You made a mistake coming here. American, Dimitri said in accented English. My organization will. Benjamin crossed the distance in 3 strides and drove his fist into Dimitri's jaw, dropping him. You talk when I tell you to talk. He zip-tied the man's hands. Walter, secure him. I'm checking the compound. Emerging topside, Benjamin found Lonnie and Cody standing over 8 bodies. The compound was clear. Inside the main building, they discovered an office filled with computers and files. Cody immediately began downloading everything while Lonnie searched for physical evidence. Benjamin found something that made his blood run cold. A room with camera equipment, soundproofing, and restraints. This was where they filmed. On the wall were Polaroid photos, trophies, dozens of victims. He saw his wife's face among them. Ben! Walter's voice in his ear. You need to see this. In the basement, they'd found 6 people locked in cells. 2 women, 4 men, emaciated and terrified. Victims waiting to be trafficked. Walter was already providing medical assessment. Benjamin knelt by a young woman who couldn't have been more than 20. English? She nodded weakly. Please, don't hurt us. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to end this. What's your name? Terry. Terry Knox? I'm from Oregon. They took me 3 months ago in Paris. Benjamin felt rage and purpose crystallize together. Terry, help is coming. I'm going to make a call, get you to the embassy. You're going home. He stepped outside and dialed Francine Ballard's number. She answered on the second ring, groggy. Coffee? It's 4 a.m. How fast can you get FBI resources to Tirana, Albania? What? Why would? Because I just liberated 6 trafficking victims from a Hydra network compound. They need medical care and repatriation. I'm sending you coordinates and evidence files. You have 2 hours before local police might show up. Silence. Then, what did you do? My job. The one you said would take years. He hung up and turned to his team. Cody, upload everything to Ballard's secure server. We're gone in 20 minutes. They brought Dimitri to a secondary safe house and abandoned factory outside the city. Kurt had already set up a chair in the middle of the empty floor. Benjamin pulled up another chair and sat facing the Albanian, whose arrogance was fading as reality set in. You killed 12 of my men, Dimitri said. My organization will hunt you. Your organization is next. Benjamin interrupted. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything about Hydra's structure. Communication protocols, financial systems, leadership locations, every detail. Or what? You torture me like some terrorist? Dimitri laughed bitterly. You're SEAL Team 6. You have rules. Benjamin leaned forward. That's where you're wrong. I'm not SEAL Team 6 right now. I'm a father whose children were tortured to death for entertainment. I'm the husband of a woman who begged for mercy that never came. You don't want to know what I'm capable of when I'm not following rules. He pulled out a tablet and played a video 10 seconds of footage from the stream of his family's torture. Just enough to show what had been done. You coordinated this. You hired the team. You knew what would happen. Give me information, and you get to live to stand trial. Stay silent, and I leave you in this factory for your competitors to find. I hear the Albanians don't like child traffickers much either. Dimitri's face paled as he watched. I was following orders. The Mexican, Fernando, he wanted revenge on you specifically. Said, make it memorable. Names, locations. How does the council communicate? Over the next 2 hours, Dimitri talked. The information was gold. Encrypted server locations, cryptocurrency wallets, scheduled meetings. The Council of 6 included people Benjamin hadn't known about: a Ukrainian oligarch named Alexandra Haynes, who provided political protection, a Moroccan banker named Hassan Karimi, who laundered the money, and a tech specialist in Romania who managed the streaming infrastructure. Most importantly, the special event in Mexico was confirmed. 20 families, prominent politicians and businessmen's relatives, taken as leverage and punishment. Fernando Hernandez was planning to stream it all simultaneously, a showcase to attract new investors in the network. When? Benjamin demanded. 5 weeks. Cancun. There's a compound in the jungle, 50 kilometers inland. Benjamin stood. Cody, verify what he's given us against NSA intercepts. If it checks out, we call Ballard and tell her where to find him. He looked at Dimitri. You're done trafficking. Whether you rot in prison or someone else's basement is up to the system now. They left Albania that night, driving to Montenegro and flying out through Podgorica. Ballard called as they crossed into Italy. 6 victims recovered, all alive. Files you sent are extensive. We're rolling up his local network now. Where's Dimitri? Tied up in an abandoned factory outside Tirana. GPS coordinates incoming. He's cooperative. Coffee, what you're doing, it's illegal, dangerous, and completely off the books. I should report you. But you won't. Because in 2 hours, I did what your task force couldn't do in 2 years. And because I'm going to keep doing it. Benjamin paused. The event in Mexico, Dimitri confirmed it. 5 weeks, 20 targets. You don't have time to build a court case. I do have time to stop it. How? By burning Hydra to the ground, one head at a time. When he hung up, Walter was driving, and the others were resting. Benjamin stared out at the Adriatic coast, thinking about Terry Knox and the 5 others they'd freed. They'd saved 6 lives tonight, but his family was still gone, and 400 monsters were still out there. The war had just begun, and now is now in spent Stas Khan Manit. In winter on Stas Khan Manit, Morocco hit them like a furnace. They arrived in Casablanca, Separately, tourists again and regrouped at a riad in the old Medina. Hassan Karimi, the banker, was harder to reach than Dimitri. He lived in a guarded mansion in Marrakesh and rarely appeared in public. But Cody's digital forensics from Albania had given them access to Hydra's financial network. It's genius, actually, Cody explained, showing them flowcharts on his laptop. Cryptocurrency mixed with traditional banking. Viewer payments go through 3 layers of conversion, end up in legitimate businesses Hassan owns. Art galleries, real estate, import, export. He's making maybe $50 million a year from the network. How do we get to him? Lonnie asked. We don't break into his fortress, Benjamin said. We make him come to us. Cody, can you manipulate the financial system to make him think there's a problem? Like what? Like someone stealing from him. Create phantom transactions. Make it look like one of his shell companies is being drained. He'll have to investigate personally a man that paranoid won't trust subordinates with his money. Cody grinned. I can have $50 million appear to vanish by tomorrow morning. They executed the plan at dawn. Cody triggered the phantom theft, routing false transactions through a shell company Hassan used for weapons purchases. By noon, NSA intercepts confirmed Hassan was in a panic, demanding his head of security meet him at the company's warehouse office. The warehouse was in an industrial district near the port, easier to access than his mansion. Benjamin and his team arrived first. Took positions. Kurt on a rooftop across the street, the others staged at entry points. They waited 3 hours before Hassan's convoy arrived, 2 Mercedes SUVs, 6 bodyguards. Hassan was a thin man in his 50s, immaculately dressed, his face tight with anger as he stormed into the warehouse with 4 guards. Benjamin listened through the audio feed as Hassan screamed at his head of security in Arabic about missing funds. Now, Benjamin ordered. Lonnie hit the building's power, plunging it into darkness. Chaos erupted inside, guards shouting, Hassan yelling. Benjamin's team moved with night vision, systematically taking down guards with suppressed weapons. In 90 seconds, it was over. Hassan stood alone in his office, hands raised, staring at 5 ghosts in tactical gear. Who are you? He demanded in French. You want money? Take it. Benjamin pulled off his night vision and stared at the banker. I don't want your money, Hassan. I want your network destroyed. You financed the murder of my family. Recognition dawned in Hassan's eyes. The seal. Coffee. You're dead. You're supposed to be deployed. Surprise. Benjamin's voice was ice. You're going to transfer every dollar in Hydra's accounts to a humanitarian fund. Then you're going to give me the names and locations of everyone in your network. Every financier. Every investor who pays to watch your streams. I can't, they'll kill me. And I'll kill you if you don't. Choose. Under Cody's guidance and a gun to his head, Hassan accessed his encrypted systems. The scope was staggering: 78 investors worldwide, politicians, businessmen, even a Hollywood producer. People paying premium rates to watch torture and murder. Cody copied everything while Lonnie secured physical files from the office safe. Then, Hassan provided the locations of the council's next meeting, scheduled for 2 weeks in Kyiv, Ukraine. Alexandra Haynes, the oligarch, was hosting. 3 of the 6 council members would be there. What about Fernando? Benjamin demanded. He doesn't come to meetings. Too risky. He stays in Mexico, lets others handle operations. But the event, he'll be there. He always attends his special projects personally. Benjamin made the call to Ballard again. Casablanca Port District, Warehouse 17. Another gift for you, Hassan Karimi, the network's banker. He's got files on 78 investors and financiers. Get him into custody before his people realize he's missing. Coffee, you're moving too fast. These people have resources, lawyers. They had my family tortured and killed. I don't care about their lawyers. He paused. 2 weeks. Kyiv, Ukraine. 3 council members meeting. If your task force wants a chance to grab them, that's your window. But I'm going to be there either way. In the safe house that night, they reviewed what they'd learned. The investor list included names that would trigger international scandals: a German parliament member, a Chinese tech billionaire, 2 Saudi princes, an American hedge fund manager. This goes public, it's not just the network that falls, Walter said. We're talking political earthquakes. Good, Benjamin replied. Let it all burn. These people paid to watch children die. They don't get to hide behind money and power. But Kurt raised a concern. We've hit 2 major targets in 3 weeks. The network knows someone's hunting them now. They'll tighten security. Maybe move the Mexico operation up. Then we move faster. Ukraine in 12 days. We take out Alexandra and whoever else shows up. Then, straight to Mexico for Fernando. Benjamin looked at his team. We're halfway through this. Everyone still in? Lonnie cracked his knuckles. Until it's done. They flew to Ukraine through Budapest, arriving in Kiev 6 days before the scheduled meeting. The city was tense. The war with Russia had settled into a frozen conflict, but the oligarchs still wielded enormous power. Alexandra Haynes operated from a compound outside the city that had once belonged to a deposed politician. She provided protection for Hydra's operations throughout Eastern Europe in exchange for a cut of profits and access to special requests. NSA intercepts revealed she had particular tastes: young men, brutal treatment, usually fatal. She'd personally ordered 17 streams over the past 3 years. Benjamin felt nothing but cold purpose reading her file. The challenge was the compound's security. Private military contractors, former Spetsnaz, well-armed and well-trained. A frontal assault would be suicide. But Cody had found something interesting in Hassan's files. Alexandra was paranoid about her own organization. She kept detailed blackmail material on all council members, stored in a vault inside her compound. If we can prove council members are turning on each other, we can make them panic, Cody suggested. Accelerate their collapse. Benjamin studied the compound schematics they'd obtained through Walter's intelligence contacts. There's another option. We don't hit the compound during the meeting. We hit it the night before, steal the blackmail files, and make it look like one of the other council members did it. Let them tear each other apart. The plan came together over 48 hours. They would infiltrate the compound at night, access the vault, and exfiltrate with the files. To sell the deception, they'd leave evidence pointing to Fernando Hernandez, make it look like the Mexican was consolidating power by stealing leverage against his partners. 2 nights before the meeting, they moved. The compound sat on 10 acres of wooded property. Kurt established overwatch, while the others approached through the trees. Modern security cameras, motion sensors, patrols. But Cody had tapped into the system hours earlier, creating blind spots. They reached the main house without being detected. Lonnie bypassed the door locks while Benjamin and Walter covered their 6. Inside, they moved through opulent rooms filled with stolen art and expensive furniture bought with blood money. The vault was in the basement, behind a wine cellar. Lonnie studied the lock, biometric, and keypad combination. This is going to take time. How much time? Benjamin asked. 20 minutes, maybe 30. They didn't have it. Footsteps echoed above them. Guards making rounds. Benjamin made a decision. New plan. We grab Alexandra herself. Force her to open it. Walter checked the house schematics on his tablet. Her bedroom is 3rd floor, east wing. 4 guards on that level. Then we go through 4 guards. They ascended the stairs like shadows. The first guard died silently, Kurt's knife across his throat. The second and third went down to suppressed rifle shots, double taps, professional. The fourth managed to trigger an alarm before Lonnie dropped him. The compound erupted. Benjamin kicked in Alexandra's bedroom door to find a woman in her 60s reaching for a pistol on her nightstand. He shot the gun out of her hand and crossed the room, yanking her up by her silk pajamas. Move and you're dead. Alexandra Haynes had the eyes of a predator caught in a trap, calculating, vicious. You've made a grave mistake. My security will kill you all. Your security has 30 seconds before we blow our way out of here. You have 15 to decide if you want to die here or cooperate. Benjamin dragged her toward the basement. Open your vault. Now. Gunfire echoed through the house. Lonnie and Cody engaging the contractors. Kurt's voice came through the earpiece. Multiple hostiles converging. You've got 2 minutes, maybe less. In the basement, Alexandra's hands shook as she placed her palm on the biometric scanner and entered the code. The vault clicked open, revealing filing cabinets and hard drives. Cody rushed in, grabbing what he could. Got it? Move. They extracted through the wine cellar's service entrance, a tunnel leading to the property's edge. Behind them, the compound blazed with gunfire and shouting. They reached the tree line as armored vehicles arrived, disappearing into the Ukrainian night. At the safe house, Cody began analyzing the files. What they found was staggering video evidence of council members ordering specific murders, financial records linking them to politicians, and most damning, communications showing they'd infiltrated law enforcement in multiple countries. Agents and officials on their payroll. This is bigger than we thought, Walter said, reviewing the evidence. They've got people inside Interpol, FBI, probably others. Benjamin felt ice in his stomach. That's why Ballard's task force is moving so slowly. The network knows what law enforcement is planning before they plan it. So what do? We leak everything. Not to law enforcement, to the media. Make it impossible to suppress. Benjamin looked at Cody. Can you get this to journalists who will actually run it? I know people. Investigative reporters who've been trying to expose trafficking networks for years. This kind of evidence? They'll burn down the world to publish it. They prepared the data dump, tens of thousands of files, videos, financial records, communications, everything. Cody sent it to 6 journalists in different countries simultaneously, with instructions to coordinate publication in 72 hours. Then Benjamin called Ballard one final time. I'm sending you something, he said without preamble. Evidence that Hydra has corrupted your investigation from inside. People on your task force are compromised. You have 72 hours to arrest everyone in the files before the media publishes everything. Jesus Christ, Coffee. What did you do? I stole Alexandra Haynes' blackmail vault. She's documented everything, payments to officials, communications, the whole network. It's over for them, one way or another. But you need to move fast. Where are you? Heading to Mexico. Fernando Hernandez is still planning his event in 3 weeks. That's 20 families who will die unless someone stops him. Since your task force is compromised, I'm electing myself. Coffee, listen to me. Let us handle Mexico. You've done enough. You've given us everything we need to prosecute. And while you're prosecuting, Fernando is grabbing 20 families. I'm not letting what happened to mine happen to anyone else. Benjamin paused. I'm finishing this. With or without your blessing. He hung up and looked at his team. Last mission. Mexico. Anyone who wants out, no judgment. Nobody moved. Then, let's go in this. Lies to be in less for wood. Without having be in maybe in, with your one. They entered Mexico through Texas, crossing at Laredo with forged documents. Mexico was Fernando's kingdom. He controlled territories from Monterrey to Cancun. His cartel diversified into trafficking, drugs, extortion, and legitimate businesses. The man was a ghost. Rarely photographed, never arrested. But Hassan's files had given them the location of his compound and the site for the planned event. Benjamin's team established a base in Playa del Carmen, a tourist town that provided cover. They had 2 weeks to plan before the event. The challenge was enormous. Fernando's compound was a fortress with military-grade security, and the event site was 50 kilometers inland, surrounded by jungle and cartel territory. We can't hit both locations simultaneously with 5 men, Lonnie said, studying the maps. We're not going to, Benjamin replied. He'd been formulating a plan during the flight. We're going to make Fernando come to us. And we're going to use his own people against him. The plan was audacious. Mexico's cartels were fragmented, constantly warring for territory. Fernando's Hydra operations had made enemies among rival cartels who saw trafficking as dishonorable. Benjamin planned to exploit that. Through contacts Cody made in the criminal underworld, they reached out to a rival cartel leader, a woman named Patricia Gaines, who controlled territory in Guadalajara. Her niece had been taken by traffickers 5 years ago, never recovered. When Cody offered her Fernando's location and proof of his trafficking network, she agreed to a meeting. They met in a warehouse in Monterrey. Patricia was in her 40s, scarred and hard, surrounded by heavily armed men. She studied Benjamin with the eyes of someone who'd survived decades in a brutal world. You're the American who's been hunting Hydra, she said in perfect English. I've heard stories. You destroyed Dimitri, Hassan, and Alexandra. Why come to me? Because Fernando is planning to traffic 20 families in 3 weeks. I can stop the event, but I can't hold territory afterward. You can. You take his operations, his routes, his infrastructure. All I want is Fernando himself. And the families? They go free. That's non-negotiable. Patricia smiled coldly. I don't traffic people, American. Drugs, weapons, yes. But children? That's Fernando's sickness. You give me his compound and the proof of his operations. I'll make sure no one in Mexico touches trafficking again. Not in my territories. They shook hands on the deal. Patricia would provide 50 Sicarios cartel enforcers to hit Fernando's compound the same night Benjamin's team infiltrated the event site. The cartels would get the money and territory. Benjamin would get Fernando and the families. The preparation took 10 days. Benjamin studied satellite imagery of the event site, a compound built in the jungle, accessible by one road. The buildings were equipped with cameras and soundproofing, cells for victims, a main streaming room, barracks for security. Fernando would have 30 to 40 men there, plus the council members who'd survived. At least 2 were confirmed to be attending. This is a suicide mission, Kurt said bluntly. 5 of us against 40 in hostile territory, with no backup. That's why we don't go in guns blazing, Benjamin replied. We're going in as guests. He explained. Hassan's files had included access codes and credentials for Hydra's investor network. Cody could create fake identities as premium investors attending the event. They'd walk in the front door, locate the families, and then signal Patricia's forces to hit Fernando's compound. In the chaos, they'd extract the victims and eliminate the targets. It's insane, Walter said, but it might work. They rehearsed for 5 days straight. Every detail mattered: timing, communication protocols, backup plans. Benjamin felt the weight of it all. If this failed, 20 families died. If it succeeded, he'd finally completed what he'd set out to do. The night before the operation, Benjamin sat alone on the balcony of their safe house, watching the Caribbean. He thought about Sarah, about their daughters, about his parents. 6 months ago, they'd been alive, and he'd been a different man. Now, he was a ghost operating outside the law. But maybe he could save some other father from experiencing what he had. His phone buzzed. A message from Ballard. Media is running the stories tomorrow. Mass arrests starting in 6 hours. FBI, Interpol, 12 countries. You did it, Coffee. The network is falling apart. Come home. Let us handle Mexico. Benjamin typed a reply. Can't. 20 families are counting on someone to be there. I'm seeing this through. He deleted it without sending and turned off the phone. The next morning, they drove inland. The event was scheduled for that night. As they approached the compound, Benjamin saw the news on his tablet, breaking stories worldwide about Hydra, arrests happening in real time, politicians resigning, the whole network exposed. But the Mexico operation was independent enough to proceed. Fernando was going ahead with his event even as his empire collapsed. They arrived at the compound at dusk, dressed in expensive clothes, carrying forged credentials. Guards checked their identification against a list while Benjamin's heart hammered. If the credentials failed, they'd be executed on sight. You're on the list, the guard said in Spanish. Welcome, gentlemen. The event begins in 1 hour. Inside, they found a nightmare dressed up as luxury. The main building had been converted into a viewing room, 50 seats, arranged theater style, facing massive screens. Benjamin recognized faces from Hassan's investor list. These people had paid $500,000 each to attend in person. Servers offered champagne and hors d'oeuvres, while screens showed previews of past events. Benjamin forced himself not to react when he saw footage from his family's torture. Around him, people watched and chatted casually about their anticipation for tonight's show. He spotted Fernando across the room, a man in his 50s, impeccably dressed, moving among guests like a proud host. 2 other council members were there too, a Romanian tech specialist named Julian Downing and a Ukrainian fixer who'd replaced Alexandra. Cody whispered through a hidden earpiece. I've located the holding cells. Basement level. Eastern section. 23 people total, 20 families, plus 3 individual captives. Security is heavy. Benjamin checked his watch. Patricia's assault on Fernando's compound was scheduled for 90 minutes from now. They needed to time this perfectly. He signaled the team. Positions. Wait for my mark. The event began at 10 p.m. Lights dimmed, screens illuminated. Fernando took a microphone. Distinguished guests, welcome to our most ambitious presentation yet. Tonight, you'll witness something unprecedented: 20 families, processed simultaneously across 5 rooms, 4 streaming channels, all live. We begin in 10 minutes. The guests applauded. Benjamin felt rage like fire in his blood. but he kept his expression neutral. This was it. Everything they'd worked for came down to the next hour. He stood, moving toward the bathroom as planned. In the hallway, he met Lonnie and Kurt. They positioned themselves near the basement access. "Go," Benjamin ordered. They moved fast, down the stairs, taking out 2 guards with silenced weapons. The basement was exactly as Cody's intel showed, a corridor with cells on each side. Benjamin unlocked the first cell and found a terrified family, parents and 2 children, bound and gagged. U.S. military, Benjamin whispered, cutting their restraints. "We're getting you out. Stay quiet, follow instructions." Room by room, they freed the captives. Most were American and European families, a senator's daughter and grandchildren, a tech CEO's wife and kids, a doctor's family from Houston. All targeted for revenge or leverage. All about to be murdered on camera. 23 freed, Walter reported. "But we've got a problem. Fernando's starting the event. If we don't move now, they'll notice the cells are empty." Benjamin made the call. "Patricia, go now. Hit the compound." Upstairs, alarms began blaring. Gunfire erupted in the distance, Patricia's sicarios engaging Fernando's forces at his primary compound. The viewing room erupted in confusion. Fernando shouted orders into a radio while investors panicked. Benjamin emerged from the basement with his team, weapons drawn. Everyone on the ground? Now. Chaos. Guards appeared, opening fire. Benjamin's team returned it, using the panicked investors as cover. Kurt dropped 3 guards with precise shots. Lonnie threw a flashbang, disorienting everyone. Cody was already working on the exterior doors, unlocking them for the captives to escape. Fernando spotted Benjamin across the room. Recognition flared in his eyes. "You, the SEAL. You're supposed to be dead." "Surprise," Benjamin said, raising his rifle. "You killed my family. I'm returning the favor." Fernando dove behind cover as bullets flew. The firefight was brutal, guards pouring in from outside. Benjamin's team systematically eliminating them. Walter took a round to his vest, knocked down but alive. Lonnie cleared a path to the exit, herding the freed captives outside where vehicles waited. Benjamin pursued Fernando through the compound. The cartel leader fled toward a helicopter pad behind the main building. Benjamin fired, missing as Fernando ducked into the aircraft. The rotors began spinning. "No," Benjamin growled, sprinting forward. He fired at the helicopter's tail rotor, bullets sparking off metal. The aircraft lifted off, wobbling, Kurt's voice in his ear. "I've got the shot. Take it." The sniper round punched through the helicopter's windscreen, hitting the pilot. The aircraft spun out of control, crashed into the jungle 50 meters away, erupting in flames. Benjamin ran to the wreckage. Fernando was crawling from the burning helicopter, badly injured. Benjamin reached him, yanked him from the flames, and dragged him clear. "Please," Fernando gasped. "Mercy." Benjamin stared at the man who'd ordered his family's torture, who'd built an empire on suffering, who would have killed 20 more families tonight for profit and entertainment. "My 9-year-old daughter begged for mercy," Benjamin said quietly. "Did you give it to her?" Fernando's face twisted in fear and pain. Benjamin raised his pistol. "This is for Sarah, Emma, Sophie, Grace, and my parents, and for every family you destroyed." He fired once. Fernando Hernandez died in the Mexican jungle, surrounded by the ruins of his empire. In my naders in time day, in Action 9, it's fine into Vincers. The extraction was chaos. Benjamin's team loaded the 23 freed captives into vehicles as cartel gunfire echoed through the jungle. Patricia's forces were winning. Fernando's compound was in flames, his security forces scattered or dead. They reached the coast by dawn. FBI agents were waiting. Ballard had mobilized everything once she'd learned the event was happening. The captives were transferred to medical care while Benjamin's team stood separate, uncertain of their status. Ballard approached Benjamin. 83 arrests so far across 12 countries. The network is destroyed. Council members dead or in custody. Investors being prosecuted. You did it, Coffee. But you also committed multiple murders, crossed international borders illegally, and operated completely outside the law. "I know," Benjamin said. "Do what you have to do." Ballard studied him for a long moment. Then she said something Benjamin didn't expect. The families you saved tonight? They include Senator Morrison's daughter and grandchildren. Also, the wife and kids of a major tech CEO who's personal friends with the president. When I told them who rescued them, they made calls. What kind of calls? The kind that result in you and your team being granted immunity for operations conducted in the dismantling of the Hydra trafficking network. Officially, you were working as confidential informants for the FBI task force. Unofficially, powerful people owe you their families' lives. Benjamin felt something break inside him, not relief, but the release of 6 months of rage and purpose. And the truth? The truth is you did what the system couldn't. You saved lives and destroyed monsters. Sometimes, that's all that matters. Ballard extended her hand. Thank you, Commander Coffee. He shook it, then turned to his team. We're clear. It's over. Walter clapped him on the shoulder. Kurt and Cody nodded, exhausted. Lonnie said what they were all thinking. What now? Benjamin looked toward the rising sun over the Caribbean. Now we go home. Try to live with what we've done and hope it was worth it. 3 months later, Benjamin stood in Arlington National Cemetery at 5 graves. Sarah, Emma, Sophie, Grace, and his parents, finally laid to rest properly. The investigation had released their bodies after the network's collapse allowed for complete forensic analysis. He knelt by Emma's headstone, placed flowers on each grave. I did it, he said quietly. Everyone who hurt you is gone. The network is destroyed. I saved some people. I hope that makes this mean something. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere, birds sang. The world kept turning, indifferent to his grief and vengeance. But Benjamin Coffee had learned something in 6 months of war. Justice and the law weren't always the same thing. Sometimes you had to become something dark to fight darkness. Sometimes the system failed, and individuals had to step into the gap. He'd lost everything that mattered. But he'd saved 23 people from the same fate. He'd dismantled an empire built on suffering. And he'd proven that even monsters could be hunted. It would never bring his family back. The nightmares would never stop. But standing there in the cemetery, Benjamin felt something he hadn't felt in 6 months. Purpose fulfilled. He'd been SEAL Team 6, a husband and father, then a ghost seeking vengeance. Now, he was just a man, trying to find a reason to keep living in a world without the people he loved. As he walked away from the graves, his phone buzzed. A message from Ballard. New trafficking ring discovered in Southeast Asia. Task force forming. Interested? Benjamin stopped, stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed a reply. Send details. Because maybe that was his purpose now. Maybe the darkness he'd become could be used to protect others. Maybe he could stop other families from experiencing what his had endured. He'd lost everything, but he'd learned how to fight monsters in their own shadows. And there would always be more monsters. Benjamin Coffee walked out of Arlington Cemetery toward an uncertain future, carrying his grief and his skills and his determination that no one else would suffer what his family had suffered. The war against evil never really ended, but neither did the warriors willing to fight it.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.